All right, Nick, it's time to talk about Bethune-Cookman University. Everybody knows by now, superstar, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion Ed Reed from the Miami Hurricanes notoriety, Baltimore Ravens notoriety, is going to come down and be the next top tier NFL superstar to coach an HBCU. And I think Bethune-Cookman is going to see a lot of change on campus, whether it's through sports and other funding they're able to get, and having such a notoriety stricken name like Ed Reed come into town. You see what Deion Sanders did, although some people might be agitated with his departure from Jackson State. You can't deny the amount of notoriety and, just championship level football he brought to that school almost immediately, Nick. So I think Ed Reed's going to be a huge signing here, and that's why I want to ask the Bethune-Cookman fans in the comments below. Let us know, Wildcats, how many wins do you think you will get next season with Ed Reed? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, the cat's out the bag. Ed Reed's coming to Bethune-Cookman. What do you have on that?
Yeah, so I think it's obviously an outstanding hire by Bethune-Cookman. This is a program that's located in Daytona Beach, I believe, or right around that area. I was actually just driving by that area the other day. And look, it makes sense, right? Ed Reed with his connections to Miami, his connections to Florida. Obviously, the recruiting hotbed of talent all up and down that coast is huge. So from a recruiting perspective, it makes sense. But from a notoriety perspective, to your point, it's an absolutely outstanding move. And look, you're looking at a Bethune-Cookman program that's relatively new to the SWAC. They were MEAC members for the longest time. So it just makes sense, right? They had a few struggles the last couple of years as they've entered into the SWAC, that to get a guy to bring in better recruiting, maybe some big time assistance as well, plus some notoriety, some dollars, some funding to the program. I think it's an outstanding move. And I give a lot of credit to Ed Reed, right? Kind of following in that Deion Sanders footsteps, because he tried to be like an advisor or assistant or whatever his role was with the U for a number of years. It obviously wasn't working out because Miami hasn't been any better. So credit to him for trying to go somewhere where he can have a larger and more significant impact like Bethune-Cookman. And I think the Wildcat fans are have to be excited right now. I can't think of any other position for them to be in.
Yeah, Nick, and they kind of got a small glimpse of the Ed Reed era at Miami at the beginning of last season, when Miami came down or they came down rather and played at Miami. So Reed is familiar with the school, and as you said, it's tough coming into the SWAC. There's a ton of powerhouse teams in the SWAC. You think you have the Jackson States of the world,
Grambling, so
Grambling, Florida Atlantic. There's a lot of really
Florida
talent.
A&M, Florida A&M.
Florida A&M. There's a lot of talented teams down there in the SWAC. But I think a guy like Ed Reed, I think of Deion Sanders because it's such a similar scenario. You look at the recruiting that Sanders was able to bring. One of the best corners in NFL history he comes to Jackson State. He's able to flip the number one corner prospect coming out of high school to come to Jackson State. And I think that's something similar because a lot of people are going to want to come and be able to play under an all-time great like Ed Reed. You're going to get safeties, DBs, guys who are ball hawks that want to come and kind of be mentored, be tutored by Ed Reed, show his tricks of the trade to them, and get developed, because I think it is not too often you have a player this high caliber come to the coaching position and then have the ability to go into this school, because I think they're going to take any of these 4 and 5-star guys that they can get. Nick, do you think that Ed Reed will be able to bring in a couple of these high caliber recruits in the defensive back department to Bethune-Cookman?
Yeah, I think it's almost a guarantee, right? And people don't understand, unless you're from Florida, which I happen to be, how deeply talent rich the entire state is in terms of recruiting, right? You have obviously University of Florida, Miami Hurricanes, and Florida State. They try and recruit nationally, but if you just dominate or at least do solid in local areas in Florida, Daytona Beach is one. Fort Lauderdale is obviously known for its football as well. You go up close to Jacksonville, has some great schools too. Even in the Panhandles has some great programs. West Palm Beach, of course, is famous. If you can just tap into those areas and get some of those recruits, you can be a championship contender at the FBS level, let alone the FCS level, which of course Bethune-Cookman is. And I think Ed Reed, just by name notoriety alone, and one thing that will happen, you'll see some sort of Deion Sanders effect latent, where people look at, wanted to go to Jackson State to play for Deion Sanders, just to be part of that movement and that energy. I think Ed Reed is going to be the guy to take up that next mantle. He obviously doesn't have the same, showmanship, I'll say, that Dion did, but Ed Reed still has that same notoriety, and I think he'll be able to kind of ride some of that energy that Dion used in Jackson State to get some recruiting, to get some notoriety, get some of the big media guys to focus on this program. So either way, it's a great move by Bethune-Cookman, and I'm really excited to see what Ed Reed will do. I think he'll do wonders in recruiting, but I think we're going to start seeing maybe some college game days down in Daytona. Something like that is probably not far around the corner. So if I'm a Bethune-Cookman fan, I'm absolutely excited. And frankly, if I'm a SWAC fan, I'm absolutely excited, because after Dion left, there was going to be, maybe what's going to happen now in terms of national attention. With Ed Reed joining the Wildcats, it's not going away.